cleanup operations are still underway at the site of the Boksburg explosion, and today Prasa officials are on site to inspect the damage to railway lines on the overhead bridge. The death toll from the explosion has risen to 18, and 9 of the victims were staff members at the OR Tambo Memorial Hospital. Our reporters, Ntokozo, Khumalo and Govan Whittles, are tracking the story from all angles. In fact, they both join us live this morning. Govan, let's kick-start the conversation with you. What do we know about the deceased?
Good morning, Michelle. Well, we know that of the 18 people that are deceased, 9 of them are staff members at the OR Tambo Memorial Hospital. 8 of them are nurses, and then there's 1 driver. And then, of course, there's 4 members, 4 children of 1 family that passed on, and their 1 friend as well, who was also a child. And then, of course, there are other people who were in the area. Based on what we know from the emergency services, the people at the hospital that were killed were outside the wards, and the entire area outside of the parking, outside of the emergency response area where people are dropped off at the ER for emergencies, those people were severely affected. There were 24 people in total who were at the hospital at the time of the explosion that have sustained severe burns. Some of them are patients. Of course, the government saying that they've transferred most of the patients out of the hospital. The hospital is closed right now, but the people were severely affected. We understand that the matron of the hospital, who was overseeing the nurses who was inside the hospital at the time, managed not to get hurt, is appealing for some assistance, and the community of Boksburg is responding to that. We'll speak to one of the residents in a moment, but before we do, let's take a look at some of these cleanup operations and assessments that are underway. Michelle, in frame you'll see the officials from Prasa that are inspecting the railway lines. This railway line wasn't operational at the time of the explosion. Right now, they're not necessarily looking to repair it, but seeing whether there's any further risk of it collapsing. We understand that a full report from Prasa on what's needed to declare this area safe and move towards eventually cleaning it up entirely will come out at least within in the next 2 days. You'll see there's a huge contingent here from Prasa busy with the assessment, and this is just part of what's going to be a long operation by the government, the provincial government, as well as Prasa's national office. But of course, as I said, there are a lot of people who are arriving here at the site. Some just to lay flowers, others are coming with packets of food, hoping to give some relief. They're asking where they can give that relief to. Let's speak to one of these residents now. His name is Mr. Roger Winter. Mr. Winter, you arrived here with your wife with some flowers and also a relief package, and you're a resident of the area. Just tell us what you were hoping to do here.
Look, it's really been a catastrophic event, and there's so many people that have lost loved ones. But from our side, we just thought we'd drop some flowers off and then some food for the needy. So it's just an initiative from myself and my wife, but it's really terrible what we're seeing in front of us.
What's the sentiments been like in the community of Boksburg following this explosion? What are people trying to do?
Well, you know, in the UK, for example, if there's a fatality or there's a stabbing or something like that, you see a lot of people coming out with flowers and, you know, they're just paying tribute. So we thought we'd do something like that as well. And I think you will see more and more people coming through with it. If you look at the good work the Gift of the Givers are doing, it's fantastic, and we'd like to be part of that. So that's why we're here this morning.
Thank you so much, Mr. Winter. Michelle, there's a lot to do here, and the devastation is immense. We'll give you some footage again of some of the houses to try and illustrate the impact of this blast. The emergency services say that when the explosion happened, the flames affected everything in a 500-meter radius of this bridge, which has essentially collapsed in parts. It'll take a while for it to be repaired, but just look at the home that's right on the corner at the top of the bridge, and where most of the damage was inflicted. You will see that it appears that the home is scorched on the outside. Of course, our colleague Aaron Bates had taken a closer look into these homes on the day of the explosion, but it's clear that these assessments, cleanup operations will keep going for quite a while, but it's encouraging to see that the residents of Boksburg and some of the surrounding suburbs are coming out here, hoping to assist in whichever way they can, and they'll get some clarity later this morning when the Gauteng government officials arrive at the Tambo Memorial Hospital and clarify where this relief can go. Of course, Gift of the Givers taking much of it at the moment, but there is still some work to be done.
Heartening to see just how South Africans and how locals are coming together there, Govan, in the wake of that devastation in Boksburg. In fact, let's stay with the story, take you to our other live position as we cover that story. Ntokozo Khumalo joins us as well. Ntokozo, a big talking point is around the homes, as Govan just showed us, the homes that were destroyed in this disaster. I mean, I suppose the question is South Africa's household insurance gap widening?
Thanks, Michelle. Yes, I am about 500 meters from my colleague Govan, but on the other side of the Tambo Memorial Hospital, where it's the residential area. And, of course, those houses that are, on the stretch of that explosion definitely saw some damage. And, with household insurance, a lot of South Africans do not have household insurance, and that's particularly true for a lot of residents here in Boksburg. Remember now, earlier we did unpack that a lot of residents here are over 60, so it is an aging population, and a lot of them having their own small businesses or having those houses that are paid off or just about paid off without receiving any additional income, except, of course, the income that they do make from their small businesses. So a lot of households not having that insurance. I am still tracking a family that did speak to us yesterday saying that, they are concerned now because they basically paid off their house, and now that it's damaged, they don't know if it's still worth anything as an asset that they had obviously worked so hard all these years to attain as a legacy for their children. So as Govan rightfully said earlier on, the stakeholders, we also have, those Prasa stakeholders from the ward council out here as well today having their meeting. They are right now actually having discussions just to see on this side, on the residential side of Boksburg, where the explosion, affected those residents, what are some of the assessments and some of the cleanups that need to be done. I will try to speak to them a little bit later on this morning just to figure out if some of these assessments that are being done towards the cleanup includes, supporting these residents who may or may not have household insurance to just really determine how much damage has been caused to their families. Of course, we've heard things like falling rooftops and, burns and so on. So families will need to definitely know how much that cost of repair will be. And for those without insurance, what is the next step? Will there be government coming up to assist, or what is the next step? So we'll be uncovering that as we go this morning. But we can clearly see the damage that is here, and if it is an aging population with no income, it then becomes a real question to ask on, unpacking some of those reasons why they would not invest in household insurance. And now that they are here, what is the move forward?
Now that the unthinkable has happened, Ntokozo Khumalo and our colleague Govan Whittles, thanks very much to both of you.